This Kevin Sheridan is a Republican strategist and a former spokesman for the Romney-Ryan campaign and the RNC. Leslie Marshall is a syndicated radio talk show host and a Fox News contributor. Thanks, both of you, for being with us. Kevin, to you first. After the failure to repeal Obamacare by the Republican-controlled House and Senate, a lot of people said they weren't going to get tax reform done. It was too big a lift. They managed to do it. Does that give the president and the Republican team momentum going into 2018?
Yeah, it's historic tax reform. It gives them momentum. When you look back on 2017, the narrative the entire year was Republicans can't shoot straight, and they end up the year with historic tax reform, a 3.3% GDP, that we haven't seen in years, and judges. And so you've got an actual legislative and executive accomplishment record here. If he goes into 2018, if they can all get on the same page, if they can agree to either tackle infrastructure or, as Paul Ryan wants to do, entitlements, I think they've just got to keep pushing because, the 2018 elections are coming fast and it's not looking good in terms of the polling numbers now. They're just going to have to run on the record at this point.
Well, all right. So, Leslie, what about Democrats? Do they see any common ground with the president in the year ahead, or will it continue to be, mostly opposition?
Well, I think despite the fact that Speaker McConnell said that he wanted, Senate Majority Leader McConnell said, he wants Democrats to help going forward. Well, you can't say you can't come to the first party but come to the second. Democrats were not included in any of the decision making with regard to tax reform and any of the legislation that the Republicans have put forth. So the people want, as we see from the polls over and over, they want Congress to work together to get things done. That's what left and right we vote these officials in the House and the Senate to do for us. But I don't think that's going to happen, John. And as a Democrat, that only helps with the polls going forward because the Republicans are pushing forth their agenda, which, if you look at the polls, is not the people's agenda and certainly doesn't benefit the people that put them over the top within Trump into the White House, which is the white working class voter that right now are behind him. But I think that will rapidly change, especially if they look to attack entitlements next.
Kevin, I want to read something from the Wall Street Journal. Ari Fleischer, Fox News contributor, former spokesman for President George W. Bush, wrote this: the tax cuts just enacted prove President Trump and the Republicans can govern. Next up could be immigration reform, a major infrastructure package, and perhaps welfare reform. Being tough and hitting opponents is part of the political game. But the lesson of the first quarter is that avoiding penalties is just as important. Mr. Trump is capable of scoring a lot more points, as any head coach would advise. However, it won't happen if he doesn't show more mental discipline on the field. The title of that piece, Too Many Flags in Trump's First Quarter. Does that analogy, that football analogy, work for you, Kevin?
It does, and Ari's spot on there. Look, the opposition to Donald Trump has not been largely his agenda. His agenda is a fairly mainstream conservative, mostly agenda, and the opposition to him, though, is just a hatred for him that is not all his doing, but there are some simple things he could do to make it better, and that would be to go back to the play he ran at the end of the 2016 campaign, where he stopped tweeting for 3 weeks, and his poll numbers went from around 41% to 45%, and he ended up getting close enough to knock Hillary Clinton off in a very close race. So if he just goes back to, if he could just control the Twitter, I'm not saying don't tweet at all, it's a very effective tool for him, but if he could just tone it down, not get in fights with cable hosts, not get in fights with celebrities, just tone it down a little, I think his numbers would go up 5-10 points.
Leslie, what would be your advice for the president going into 2018?
I would say I would agree with that somewhat. I mean, you have to stop being so bombastic and start acting presidential. Right now, violent crime is up in the United States. Attacks on minority groups like Muslims are up. We practically were at the brink of war with a madman in North Korea. The tweeting is not only juvenile and unpresidential, it's irresponsible and could put Americans here and abroad at risk. One of the things he needs to do that he said he was going to do and he hasn't done, John, and the numbers show that, the facts show that, he hasn't united us. And that's something that's hard, left or right, for any leader to do, but I think that's what he or any leader should do. He hasn't united his party. The Republican Party is in disarray in a sense, and he has not united this nation, and I think that's something he would need to do going forward. Sorry if I sound like a pessimist. I don't think he'll succeed in that mission.
It's been less than a year. We'll see. Leslie Marshall, Kevin Sheridan, thank you.
Thank you.